Here at L4 Media, we talk high school football, 4A, 3A, and 2A in Texas. We talk East Texas sports. We talk NFL, guy talk, movie and booze. We also talk wrestling and so much more. So like and subscribe and check us out.
Car Motor Company is your destination for classic and late model vehicles in north central Texas, located at 302 South Caddo in downtown Cleburne. They have everything you're looking for, from classic cars and trucks to late model cars and trucks, convertibles, and SUVs. If you'd like to call ahead of your visit, they can be reached at 817-666-1111. With inventory changing weekly, there's a little bit of everything at Car Motor Company. Be sure to visit the website www.txcar.com. That's www.txkar.com to keep up with their ever-changing inventory. They're open from 9 to 5:30 on Tuesday through Friday, and at 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock on Saturdays, closed Sunday and Monday. And also, if you mention this advertisement and Texas 2-Seam during your next visit to Car Motor Company, they'll give you $200 off any vehicle purchase. Stop by Car Motor Company while you shop and eat in historic downtown Cleburne. Again, you can give them a call at 817-666-1111 or visit their website at www.txcar.com. That's www.txkar.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Texas 2-Seam podcast, part of Outdrink the Coverage on L4 Media, presented by Car Motor Company in downtown Cleburne. My name is Ryan Fox, and joining us on the show today, Rangers Hall of Famer, a 6-time Gold Glover, 3-time All-Star, and in the Rangers' inaugural Hall of Fame class in 2003, alongside 2 of his teammates, Charlie Huff and Nolan Ryan, as well as legendary Ranger manager Johnny Oates. Mr. Jim Sundberg. Jim, how are you doing today, sir?
Good, Ryan. Thank you. It's great to be with you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Appreciate you coming on today. So I just wanted to talk about, your playing career, what you think the state of the Rangers is today, and a lot of your public speaking and the books you've authored as well. Let's start with your playing career. So you grew up in Galesburg, up in Illinois. You were a Silver Streak playing baseball there. You were an All-American in your senior year in 1969. You were actually drafted out of high school as well by Oakland, but you elected to pass that and take the scholarship ride to the University of Iowa under Coach Dwayne Banks. What went into that decision for you to, instead of going straight to the majors out of high school, to go ahead and get that college education and play a little college ball?
Well, Ryan, my dad really I think was geared on wanting me to play pro ball right out of high school. And there wasn't really much of a talk about going to college. And when I was drafted, as you mentioned, by Oakland out of high school. And I never heard from Oakland. In fact, I found out that I was drafted 2 weeks later in the Sporting News. No one even called me. And having worked for the Rangers back in the early 2010 in that area, and being familiar with the draft at that point, if you're going to be a high draft pick, you would not only probably have your choice of colleges to go to, any one of colleges to go to, but the teams would be talking to you days, weeks, months out. Well, I never heard from anybody, and then I was playing Legion ball in the summer of '69 after being drafted. And based on the letter that my second grade school teacher wrote to the athletic department at Iowa, Dwayne Banks and Dick Schultz. Dick Schultz was actually the coach at the time. Dwayne Banks, the assistant coach, but Dwayne Banks would become the head coach by the time I got there. They came out to watch a game I played in Iowa City. And Ryan, it was the best day that I ever had in baseball, and they offered me a scholarship right after the game. So it's the only scholarship offer I got, and that's how I made it to Iowa. It was kind of an easy decision to make.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you went on to play at the University of Iowa again. Like you said, Dwayne Banks ended up being the head coach there. And he's actually the winningest coach in Iowa baseball history. I think he had something like 872 wins. And your 1972 season, which was, I believe, your senior season over there at Iowa, y'all won the Big Ten Conference title, as well as making the first and only appearance in the College World Series for the Hawkeyes. What do you remember about that season in particular and about playing under Coach Banks?
Well, Coach Banks was a good coach and enjoyed playing for me. He was a former catcher, so that was helpful for me. And what I remember about that year was that there was a lot of guys that were having really good seasons, which it takes whenever you win. It takes several people, not only in the starting lineup, but in the rotation to have good years. And so we had a good year. We went to the College World Series. We scored 5 runs in the first inning of the first game we played in, and thought it was going to be a rollover against Temple University, but I think they ended up beating us 10-9, and then we got beat in the second game by Arizona State, and was out of it. But it was an amazing experience to go to Omaha and play in the College World Series. And I was ended up being drafted again that summer, and by the Texas Rangers, and so that was a cool experience to have gone to Iowa, play for Coach Banks, and then go to the College World Series.
Following your time at Iowa, whenever you got drafted, and I guess throughout your playing career and then on, did you ever correspond with Coach Banks or any of your Iowa players on somewhat of a regular basis?
Well, I still do. I talked to the shortstop, Ray Smith, quite a bit, and Bill Heckroth, and I see those guys probably once a year, or at least talk to them several times during the year. And I talk to Coach Banks probably once a year, and you always kind of, when you win something like that, those guys on the team are kind of special.
Yeah, and the memories stick with you forever. That's pretty cool. And then, like you mentioned, you were drafted by the Rangers. You're actually drafted by the Rangers twice, in 72 and 73. They started you at AA, the AA affiliate, which was in Pittsfield, Massachusetts at the time. And you played there for one season, and then they brought you up right away. And in your rookie season with the Rangers in 74, you started 132 games behind the dish, and you earned your first All-Star nod, the first of 3, and you were in the American League Rookie of the Year running as well, but that eventually went to your teammate, Mike Hargrove. What do you remember about your rookie season for the Rangers?
Well, I had played instructional league the fall before 74. In the fall of 73, I played instructional league, and Billy Martin had seen me play, and I guess had decided at that point in time that I would be his catcher the next year. I wish he would have told me, because I ended up going back to Galesburg, Illinois that winter and worked in a factory putting compressors in the back of refrigerators. And so so I go to the big league in 74. I catch my childhood idol, Ferguson Jenkins, in my first major league game. Everything seemed to go well. Billy was a hit and really turned the team around. Rangers had been in last place the year before, and then we turn around and make a run at Oakland, even late in the season of 74. Billy Martin was manager of the year. Fergie was comeback player of the year. Jeff Burrows was MVP. And as you mentioned, Mike Hargrove was rookie of the year. He and I kind of battled it out for rookie of the year, and he won it. So it was a great first year, and really a lot of fun. I got to see stadiums that I'd always dreamed of playing in. Got to play against guys that I grew up watching. I remember the first time Hank Aaron came to the plate. It was pretty amazing. So I was torn between wanting to get his autograph and trying to get him out.
That's awesome.
It was a fun season.
Yeah, and again, like I mentioned before, you caught 132 games that season, and that kind of set a precedent for your career. Throughout the 15 years you spent in Major League Baseball, you caught on average 140 games per year. and including the 1975 season where you set the American League record with 155 games caught in a single season, a record that still stands today. And I don't know if it'll ever be replicated, at least not anytime soon. It's held strong for this long. To catch that many games in a regular season with hardly any days off, I mean, it's not only do you have to be physically fit for it, you got to be mentally fit as well. Where did that strong mental fortitude that earned you the nickname Iron Man stem from?
Well, it was really rough. It was tough playing 155 games, especially in that heat.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really my worst offensive season in baseball, mainly because of the amount of games that I had to catch. You mentioned I caught 130 some my first year. Well, I went to winter ball in Venezuela that winter, caught another 30, and then came back and caught 107, 155. It was just a lot of games, and it had a lot of effect on the offense. But I kind of credit my dad, who had an amazing work ethic. He he worked at the postal office for 33 years, and in 33 years he built up 15 months of sick leave. I used to watch him walk to work because the amount of snow was heavy on the ground. He would walk to work, and I think my dad worked 2 jobs. So I think there was a responsibility about playing. The team wanted me in 75 to play a lot of games, and so I did. It probably wasn't the smartest thing because toll that it takes offensively. But anyway, it like you say, it still is a record, and the way they use catching today is probably not going to be broken. They don't let guys catch that many games anymore.
Yeah, and it's something we also saw with the Rangers postseason run last season. Jonah Heim, the Rangers catcher, caught every single game in the postseason last year, which, again, I think that's something that we don't see very often as well, especially when you make it all the way to the World Series and play 5 games. What do you think of him, man? Jonah Heim, we got him in a trade. The Rangers got him in a trade with Oakland when they sent Elvis Andrus there at the time, and he's developed really well. Now, I know it's probably, catcher is a special position in your heart, obviously, and especially with the Rangers, that's something you've probably kept up over the year. What do you think of Jonah Heim as he's developed, especially over the last 2 seasons, as a both offensive and defensive catcher?
Yeah, he's done a really good job, and like you say, he's he's done it both offensively, excuse me, and defensively. And I'm surprised that he hasn't gotten more recognition in the off. I've seen polls, and I've seen a lot of emphasis go toward the Baltimore catcher, and I'm just really surprised that he hadn't gotten more accolades in the offseason than he did. He won the Gold Glove. Also had an outstanding offensive season, almost driving in 100 runs. And he has really developed well. Probably has some good catching coaches behind him and good support. And so it's fun to see that happening with Jonah.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Rangers catcher coach is a former player as well, Bobby Wilson. I'm sure playing with the team like he did, I'm sure he's really hands-on with all that. It's been really nice to see Jonah Heim. He's one of my favorite players, absolutely. So it's been cool to see him develop.
Yeah, he's done a great job, and he's looks like he's off to a good start with a team that has been that's got great offensive talent, and the pitching is not in a great spot right now, but should get better as time goes on.
Absolutely. And now back to your playing career. You went on to play for the Rangers for a decade in your first stint, and then eventually you landed with the Royals in 1985. You were 34 years old heading into that season, and you caught a very young starting rotation. The average age was 24 years old. And previously, before you came, that starting 5 rotations ERA was 4.19. And then when you came in there, got behind the dish, it dropped to a 3.47, which was a key, point in that team advancing and winning the World Series that year. it's an achievement that goes beyond any accolade. The team accolade of winning the World Series. How was that feeling for you, and what do you remember about that season? You mentioned before how making the College World Series with your teammates it's one of those things where that's a special group that sticks with you forever. Is that the same case with this Royals team? And if so, do you talk to any of those guys today?
Well, Ryan, it is, and I do stay up with some of the guys, and it was an amazing experience. Dick Hauser really pushed wanting to get me in the off season before '85, and he was able to convince general manager and owner to trade Don Slott, who was a young catcher at that time, to get me to work with the young pitching staff. It was the best rotation that I ever worked with. It was durable. First rotation and the only rotation that I worked with in 16 years that never got hurt at all. Were intact the whole year. So they were, Brett Saberhagen, Mark Guzza, Danny Jackson, Charlie Leibrandt, Bud Black. They were a great rotation, fun to work with, and then, of course, an amazing experience to play in the World Series.
Absolutely. It's reaching baseball's mountaintop, and that's awesome. And we saw that again with the Rangers last season as well. They finally got their first World Series. So this franchise started in Washington. They moved to Texas in 1972. And like we mentioned before, you were drafted and have been part of this team since 1974. Or you drafted in 73, but you got called up in 74. So as ever since this franchise has been in Texas, you've pretty much been part of it, whether it's been as a player, a broadcaster, front office, or even just a fan. You've been part of this organization pretty much since they moved to Arlington back in 72. So you've seen firsthand a lot of the trials, tribulation, and the woes that this franchise and fan base has gone through since they moved to Texas. When they finally reached that mountaintop and won the World Series in Arizona last year, how was that for you?
It was tremendous, Ryan. It was a thrill. We went to games 1 and 2, and of course, game 1 was historic with Seager's home run in the 9th, and then Garcia's home run in extra innings to win. The place was electric. It was as if they had won the World Series in that first game. It was an amazing game to watch and be there firsthand. And we had gone with some friends, and we were just going nuts with the rest of the group. And then to have them win the World Series and win 11 games on the road, it was no one could predict that. I mean, they go to Seattle and they have a really tough series in Seattle, and then all of a sudden postseason comes, and they just hit it out of the ballpark. A great run, a great thing for the organization to go through, and just an amazing journey.
Yeah, absolutely. And then again, I want to talk about your broadcasting career as well. And when you were on the TV booth for the Rangers, I believe your play-by-play guy was Steve Busby. What do you remember about working with Buzz in the announcer booth at that time?
Well, it was a lot of fun. He was a pitcher, I was a catcher, and we often kind of rubbed each other as part of the, broadcasting is really entertainment, and you try to make it interesting and fun for the fan base that's watching. And so one of the things that we would do I would blame the pitcher and he would blame the catcher. And so we would play that back and forth. But we did that for 6 years. And in our 6th year, we were acknowledged as the best broadcast team in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And so that was it was fun to cap that off in our last year working together. And it was a great experience. It's something that I didn't realize was going to happen until really a couple weeks before the end of my playing career. And the way that happened is I was sitting in the dugout, and Bobby Valentine came to me with about 2 weeks left in the season and said, "How would you, HSE, who was the cable carrier of the team, that did the home games said, how would you like to broadcast? They've asked if you could come up in the booth. And so in uniform, I would march up into the booth in the second inning. I would broadcast until the eighth. The Rangers wanted me back in the Bobby Valentine, the manager, and Tom Grieve, the general manager, wanted me back in the dugout in the eighth inning in case they wanted to use me as a pitch hitter. But so for the last couple of weeks, I ended up broadcasting, and then they offered me that job. And so it was it was a great transition from playing in uniform to life after baseball, and it was really fun to do for the time period that I did with Steve Busby.
Absolutely. And then now your career post baseball, taking a look at your website and everything, you're an accomplished public speaker. You've written several books, including one with your wife, Janet, the sports parenting book as well. And it's clear through everything that you've done post baseball that you have a passion of serving others through your faith and your love for your fellow man. Where did that passion come from? And, was it something about, trying to find something to be passionate about post baseball? Because that's what you grew up playing. That's what your career was out of. What made public speaking and being an author and just serving others, what made that your passion for life post baseball?
Well, it's a great question, and there's a couple of reasons. And Ryan, when I was, the Rangers honored me with giving out in my name the Community Service Award, and that was started way back when I was young, living in Galesburg. My dad and I used to go to Wrigley Field to watch the Cubs play, and the Cub players modeled consistency of being friendly with the players, being active in the community, and were great role models. And I thought to myself, if I ever go to the big leagues, that would really be a great direction to go, to be involved, be friendly with fans, and then be active in the community. And so the influence of the Cub players was one thing, and then my faith was the other. That to serve others and to be available to serve God, and so so those two things really led to my being involved in the community, and then led directly to writing the books that I've written.
Absolutely. And then just one more question for you. So in 2003, like we mentioned before, you were in the inaugural Hall of Fame class for the Texas Rangers alongside two of your teammates, Charlie Huff, Nolan Ryan, and as well as legendary Rangers manager Johnny Oates. What do you remember about that day, and how special was it to share that accolade with two of your former teammates?
Well, to share it with Nolan and Charlie was amazing, and being teammates and seeing their accomplishments and being alongside some of those. I was actually a teammate with Nolan when he won his 5,000th, or when he struck out his 5,000th guy. My number was 10, so Nolan gave me the strikeout number 5,010, which I have, which I really appreciate. Charlie was a great competitor, one of the toughest competitors I've played with, and mastered that knuckleball. But I think the most impressive moment in that ceremony was when Johnny Oates came out in the car, and he stepped out of the car and became very emotional. Johnny, who's really not a very emotional guy, was very emotional, and I think that affected everybody that watched that. And so it was a great honor to be inducted in that first class.
Absolutely. And then again, I want to thank you for joining us today, Jim. You can find your website at www.jimsundberg.com. And then also that's where you can find your books, your mission statement, as well as the companies that you've done public speaking with. Well, what can you tell us about jimsundberg.com, as well as your mission statement and everything you've done post-baseball once again?
Well, the website really is kind of a autobiography in a sense. It's got a lot of different on it. And the first book that Jen and I wrote, which was How to Win in Sports Parenting, geared toward helping parents navigate what had become a very stressful environment, with parents trying to figure out how to best help their child through sports. And so it was a fun book to write. And then I got in post career, I got inspired in writing. It's interesting because I almost out of a writing class in college, and then to kind of realize that I had some writing skills, and was impressed to write after my career. I wrote a book that I have not yet published called Land of Legacy, and it's a allegory. And from that, I talked to an editor, and she kind of encouraged me to pull some things out of that and do the Legacy Playbook. So the Legacy Playbook is a devotional that is 50 days of encouragement to pass on what matters most. That was the first one. The second one was based on the armor of God, called Equipped to Win. But the the book that probably has the most passion for me, that I haven't really published yet is Land of Legacy, the allegory. And so I'm still kind of tossing that around, waiting for the right time for that to happen. But the website shows a lot about the family. It has my mission statement, and it has it's just a good way to navigate and to kind of get to know me a little bit.
Fantastic. Well, Jim Sundberg, Texas Rangers Hall of Famer, joining us right here on Texas Two Seam, part of Outdrink the Coverage on L4 Media. Jim, we really appreciate your time today. Thank you for speaking with us, and you have a wonderful day, sir.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. Great to be with you.
And thank you for listening to today's episode of the Texas Two Seam podcast, presented by Car Motor Company on L4 Media. We will talk to you next week.